Today we're going to go over the blog post that we do every year for things to do in Las Vegas for Mother's Day. So in this video, I'm going to show you what the blog is, how we do it. I'm going to talk about why we do it, what its effect is, and then I'm going to go through some of the components of it so that you can use this as a guideline to create your things to do in Las Vegas for Mother's Day. Now, what I want you to understand is the reason we do hyperlocal. For those of you that are real estate agents following along, which most are, we want to prove that we are the local specialist for one thing. You know, people buy and sell real estate here. We want them to think of us when they think of Las Vegas. So we create these hyper-local blog posts for that reason. We also want to provide value to our consumers. So we want to be finding things to share on social media and to send out in our email drip campaigns and to blog about that'll be of value for them, right? We want to rank on the search engines for these particular terms so that then we will gain more traffic to our website. And more traffic to our website that is positive traffic that generates clicks and page views and video plays and engagement. We want that and because that's going to send a positive signal to the search engines. Also, when somebody is logged into Google, which we are most of the time, you know, if we're using Google login for anything, or we're using Gmail, or we're using any of Google's tools, we've typically allowed them to place a cookie on our computers and measure what we do and where we go, and they learn who we are and what kind of results are most relative to us. Well, if a local, let's just say, types in things to do for Mother's Day and they find my blog post and they engage and they click and they stay on here for a little while and they read it or they download something or they play a video or whatever, then Google's going to say this website seems to be of quality for that searcher. And so the next time they do a search for Las Vegas or for real estate, there's a good chance that my website or my web page will now return higher on the search results for that consumer than they would have previously. So I want them on my website as often as possible. I want them engaging. Now we are going to include real estate. Obviously, there's a if they're on desktop, I've got right-hand column, home search, and contact information. I've got them on mobile. There's a search widget on the top, and there's homes for sale on the bottom. And so I am also including IDX homes for sale on the bottom, which we'll go over in a moment. So if they are in the market for real estate, I'm going to capture them there as well. And if I want to build a local database, I can make some sort of offer on here, coupons or things to do for Mother's Day guide or something that they can download, and now I can add them to my local drip email campaign as well. So there's so many wins in why we do this. The biggest challenge that most people have is simply in sitting down to create the content, okay? So before I go through what's on this page, I will tell you there's several things you can do with your content. You can hire it out. You can hire it out to some blog posts like this one. You could hire out to a virtual assistant, even in another country. You can use interns at the college who are, you know, writers or marketers, content marketers that need to do a certain amount of work to graduate, and so you could do that. You can find independent writers online. There's lots of them. You can use a broker house. You know, use ghostwriters. There's tons of these companies out there. Or you can use a company like mine, Ballen Brands, where we custom write all of your content for you. We're a little more expensive, I think, because we actually put it on your blog and add the images and add the links and add the calls to action, and we optimize it for the search engines. You know, they're very SEO focused. They're SEO blogs for sure. And so there's reasons why you might do different things. Now, I can tell you right now that I had this blog written and it still took me an hour to go back in and add the image and add the links and add the calls to action. So you do have to budget in your time when you build something like this, okay? Now, let me just kind of go through some of the some of the components here. Again, this is a desktop view. So the first thing we have up top is an image. And I just realized something I don't have in there. So let me edit this post. We might as well, I needed to do a once over anyway. It's a best practice to include the keyword term that you're optimizing this page for in your in the top paragraph. Now, Google reads intent, it reads topic, so it's going to figure out really quickly that this post is about things to do in Mother's Day. But depending on the competition and whatnot, I still like to follow best practices. So okay, here we go. So things to do in Las Vegas for Mother's Day. So if you're thinking of celebrating Mother's Day this year and wondering what things to do for Mother's Day, then look no further than Sin City. Okay, so there's my keyword in the top paragraph. Okay, your images also should be optimized. And when I say optimizing an image, it used to be that we would stuff in these keywords into the alt tags of the images and really go overboard to tell Google what our blog post was about, but we no longer need to do that. Yet there still are some best practices. So I'm going to click on this little image. Now remember, I'm using WordPress. So most of the WYSIWYG editors, what you see is what you get. This design editor look very similar. So you can probably use some of the things that I'm doing here, but if not, you'll have to look at your platform and see how to do it. So I'm going to click Edit. And here I can see what my picture is called. And this image title attribute is designed for if you've got somebody that's visually impaired, they can hover over the image and hear what the image is about, right? And so I might put something here like tabletop with pink flowers and heart that reads Happy Mother's Day. So I did not stuff in things to do in Mother's Day because it does not apply to this image and it would look spammy to Google. So instead, I'm describing what the picture has, but it does have the keyword Mother's Day in it. So that's good as well. And so I'm going to have, when they click on the picture, I'm going to have it not do anything. You could have this go somewhere when they click on the image. And I can tell you, I measure everything with heat maps and people do click on images. So sometimes it makes sense to have that image click on something that opens in a new tab or a new window, another page on your website or something. But otherwise, I'm going to have it not open at all. If it's a graph or a chart or something, I'm going to have it open in its own window so they can look at it larger. But there's no reason to do that with this image in particular. Okay. Now, next, you'll see, okay, so the top paragraph's your introduction paragraph. All right. This is your lead in. This is your capture their attention. Why should they read this blog post in that top paragraph? We don't want it to be too long. In fact, this could have been cut off right here and just had this top part and been perfectly fine before my table of contents kicks in. So I'm going to say, 150 words in that top section is usually just fine, but it's a lead in. Why should they read the article? Okay. Now here I have a table of contents. Okay. Now you notice the little emojis. I actually put those in today. So that you can see how they work and you can decide whether or not you want to use emojis on your blog posts or not, where to use them, how much to use them. I have not tested yet to see, if they get clicked or what the result is or if they, have more time. So once I put these through the heat maps, we'll start measuring these. This is something new that we're just kind of testing. So here, this little TOC, that is what creates this table of contents. Now, here is the reason why I started doing tables of contents. It reduces bounce rates, okay? So a bounce rate, when somebody goes to the search engine, they type in things to do on Mother's Day and they land on your blog post and they don't like what they see there and they bounce back to the search engine and they do another search, that's really bad for your SEO, okay? Now, if they land here and they get everything they need and they don't click anywhere else and they close the window, that's not a negative signal. We don't want them bouncing back, pogo sticking, they call it, bouncing back to the search engine and typing in a new query. We want them staying on our page and clicking and taking action. Well, that table of contents gets them clicking quickly. So it reduces bounce rate. It increases user interaction. And what we know about SEO today is RankBrain, Google's artificial intelligence, is measuring clicks, and it's ranking these entities for those queries based on user interaction. It determines, is this a quality return on the search engine results page for this search query? Well, if somebody landed here and they clicked 2 or 3 times, they visited 2 or 3 pages, they stayed on the website for several minutes, then yes, this is. And if they see that over and over and over again, you'll move higher and higher up on the search engines because it's a quality return, quality page for that search term that somebody typed in. So that's another reason why we do it. It's also great user experience because what happens here now is, let's say somebody skims this really quick and they go, oh, that's what I was looking for, the Mother's Day run, and they click it, then it'll immediately move them down the page to that piece. And that's a good user experience. We don't want them having to scroll and scroll, especially on a mobile device. Holy cow. Let's look at this on mobile. I'm going to shrink this. Ignore what's in the background for a minute. I'm working on all kinds of things at one time. So here's what this would look like on mobile. Okay, so they've got their search widget up top. So that encourages real estate searches. And then we're going to look down here at the bottom, things to do for sale and things to do at Mother's Day, and look at the scroll. So let's just say they want to look at that Mother's Day run. Scroll, 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 scroll. They're gone. Like, they don't want to stay on there and do all that. So that table of contents allows them to get down to where they want to go even faster. Another reason why it's a win is if you're doing anything yet with schema, structured data, which is generally lists, tables, things like that, then you might actually appear on Google's, you might get a featured rich snippet on Google where basically, let me see if I can get one, cheap houses for sale in Las Vegas. Oh, you never get them to appear when I want to, it's so random. There's something up here called, let me see if I can do open houses in Las Vegas. It won't be mine, but it'll be somebody else's. No. Where are open houses this weekend? Usually comes with a question. What are the cheapest houses in Las Vegas? Oh, come on, give me a featured rich snippet here. Well, there's my listing, but that's not a, all right, Las Vegas master planned communities. Oh. Okay, I got one to pop up this morning on that one. Oh my gosh, how am I not getting rich snippets to pop up? That is so funny. Las Vegas. Oh, hold on. What is the average price of a home in Las Vegas? There's one. It's not me, but there's one. Okay, so this here would be a featured snippet. Okay, and if you click on about this result, I'm going to open that in a new tab. You'll be able to read more about featured snippets. Of course, I do have these on my blog at loriballen.com and in the Ballen Method training course, of course, which some of you guys are watching this lesson plan on right now. So this you have a chance to show up here, and when you create this structured data, so somebody might type in, maybe I even want to title that table of contents, what are the best things to do on Mother's Day? So if somebody types in this phrase, there's a very good chance now, I'm going to update that Google would pull that list and put it there on Google when somebody types in this return. So that was typed in that search term. So that's another reason why we do that. Okay, so there's lots of reasons why we do these table of contents, they're called. Okay, you have to be careful though, because depending on, oh, I messed it up, because of your let me update that. When you use these plugins like table of contents, they slow down your website. And so what'll happen is it'll add a half a second or something like that. Well, if that half a second puts you over the 3-second mark, it might not be worth using a plugin. It might be worth you actually making a list yourself and putting in and doing something called anchor tags, where you put in the item and then you go down here and you put this little piece of code in there and it'll create anchor tags for you. So if your website's getting too slow, it might be worth doing it manually, or skip it all together, or put it in a table instead. You know, we use table press, and table press is another way to create tables. And it might, if you've already got table press, it may not slow the page down as much as like table of contents. So you'll have to test that in the speed checker to make sure. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and view this again. Right. So what are the best things to do on Mother's Day? So I gave it a question and an answer. So now I'm really, really drawing attention to Google that that I've got some rich data on here they might want to pull for their structured data. They might want to pull for their rich snippets. Now I do have a plugin in here that adds schema to the page. Schema.org is a language used by developers, and you can tell Google in this one little piece of code that this is an article, or it's a video, or it's a blog post, or it's a product. You can tell it that you're an organization. Put your local data in there, and these are all helpful to call Google over to look at your structured data. So schema is not necessary to get a featured snippet, but it's another one of those things that helps. Okay, so you can watch the lesson plan on adding schema through. I've got a couple plugins. The free one is all-in-one schema, and right now I'm using WPSSO, which is paid, and I'm testing it. So far, it's not performing better than the free one. I'll let you know if it does, but for right now, that all-in-one rich schema, I think it's called all-in-one rich schema, was really doing well for me. And then I switched to the paid one, and I don't think I'm doing any better with the paid one. So time will tell. All right, and so that's what that is. And then I have another little paragraph here, little tiny, 50 words or whatever. And so now here's what you might want to do for your Mother's Day specifically. You might want to break this down by brunch, outdoor events, spas, whatever you think. And I'm adding to mine. Mine's published now. Let's see, how many words is mine now? Down here, if you look down here, word count, 2,058. I already have 2,000 words on here, and it's still not where I want it to be completely. So I'm probably going to build onto it. I want to make sure I have the number one spot. So brunch, I've got brunches on there, and then I have lunch and dinner on here. So you can see here, each one of these, there's an image. There's links to the actual restaurant or the event, and you want those links to always open in a tab or open in a new window. If you don't know how to have your links open in a new tab or open in a new window, in the Ballen Method training system, it's under, it's at the bottom section, additional tools, or additional, the basics, SEO basics. And there's how to add a link and how to add a link to open in a new window. So make sure you do that. Then I've got spas. And then I've got some other options: staycation at the Mirage, the Mother's Day Run, the Park Las Vegas, Lake Mead Cruise, Bellagio Fine Arts. Okay, now down here at the bottom, I have specifically added homes for sale with mother-in-law quarters. Notice the specifics. It's not just generic houses. It's specific to mother-in-law quarters. So depending on what your IDX will let you build here, this is a really cool, nice little widget. And of course, all of our websites at Ballen Brands that we build for our real estate agent clients are powered by IDX Broker. And you can contact us to get that set up for you. We are IDX Broker developers. All right, so ballenbrands.com in case you need that again. And then also I wanted to mention, in between these here, this is called internal linking. Internal linking. So this is where you highlight a set of keywords and you add a link. So over here it would look like this. We're going to go like this to whatever it applies. Click a link. Then you'll be able to search your blog, things to do, and your blog, it'll pull up whatever it is that you want to link to. And if you click on the little widget, the wheel, it'll, there's a child screaming outside my window. It'll open a little wheel. It'll open a bigger window and give you more options, like having that link open in a window and things like that. Okay, so you're going to use this is for the customer. If they're on your website right now, the visitor, and they read something that you believe, like this top vacation hotspot. You know, maybe you've got a blog post on your website all about why Las Vegas is a top vacation hotspot. Then I would include that as a link to another page. Okay, and this little internal linking can also push SEO back and forth. It can push some link juice back and forth between the pages. So what I like to do is I like to mark which pages are already ranking, which pages are my cornerstone content. And so here, let me show you an example. There's a great tool I use called SEMrush, and you can find it in the link in the Ballen method in Lori's Tools, or go over to loristools.com, and you will find a link to get a free trial here. These are the products that I use. And you'll be able to get a link for SEMrush, and you'll just click that. It'll open, and you can set up your free trial. Okay, so here's what I would do. I would go to SEMrush, and I would say, let me go to my website, which is Lori Ballen. Oh, I'm on the real estate site, ballenvegas.com. And let's say I've got a page there all about hotels. So I want to see on my website what pages I have that rank for hotels. So I'm going to type in the word hotel. So this is going to pull, oops, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong spot there. Domain overview. This is going to pull all of the pages that I rank for with the keyword phrase hotel in it. Okay. And so I'm going to look down here and go, okay, themed hotels, Excalibur, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to read all these, and I'm going to sort this by highest volume. So these are how many searches a month are for that term, 9,900. Oh, I've got one. So top hotels in Las Vegas. Okay. So I'm going to click this little box. It'll open my page that I have. It's all about the top hotels in Las Vegas. Okay. It's really funny, actually, that page ranks for that, because the page is about themed hotels, and I've barely begun it. I have so much more to do on this page. All right, but watch what I can do here. I'm going to edit this post, and I'm going to mark it. I'm using Yoast, the plugin Yoast, and I do not have an affiliate link or anything that gets you anything with Yoast, sorry. But I do love a lot of the new things Yoast has done recently, and one of my favorite things Yoast has done is it added something called cornerstone content. What you're able to do here is say, okay, this page right here is really a good traffic earner. It's ranking well. It's generating a lot of traffic. I want this article to be cornerstone content. Now, once you check that off and it's published, what happens is when you're inside a blog post like this one, on the right-hand side, if you have Yoast, it'll start suggesting which internal links you might want to include in this blog post based on your cornerstone content or based on what it believes is similar. So for example, I like this one. It's suggesting that we include an internal link for best Las Vegas steakhouses. Okay, so I like this too. I'm going to do it. I like that suggestion. Now watch. Here, it's not checked off. It means I have not included it. Well, where's our thing of restaurants, lunch and dinner? Okay, so now maybe I want to include a little section about steakhouses, or I want to put a link. So at the bottom of this, I'm going to put, others have asked, where is the best Las Vegas, where's the best steakhouse in Las Vegas that opens, what did I say? At 4 p.m. Okay. Now I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to put in a link, and I'm going to start typing in the keyword to my article. There it is. Click the little arrow. It's in there now, and now you'll see a little checkbox that you've included it. I love this. So if you do a really, really good job of going in and marking your cornerstone content, which pages are my anchors? Which pages are the most trafficked? which pages do I want ranking the highest? You know, for example, I have one, how to buy a house in Las Vegas. I have another one, how to sell a house in Las Vegas. I have another one, what are closing costs when you buy or sell a home in Las Vegas. Those are all amazing for me. I get listings from them. They're incredible blog posts. They rank really high. Those are cornerstone content. But my blog posts I'm writing right now over here called Yoga on the Lawn, Things to Do in Summerlin, that will not be a piece of cornerstone content. That's a not an evergreen piece of content. It's not, it's going into my things to do section of my blog, but it's not going to be a cornerstone content. But I might have a blog post called Things to Do in Summerlin that is a piece of cornerstone content. Okay, so that's how that works. It's really a cool thing. So those are what I've done there. So I think I've covered everything, haven't I? That I've done. I don't know why I just sounded like I had an accent. I think I've covered everything. Now, oh, one more thing. And I cover this over and over and over again in my videos, but I'm going to do it again because it's a new feature from SEMrush. And by the way, for those that have not heard, when I started doing all this, I was completely broke, and I closed 100 transactions in my first year directly from the internet, from doing all the stuff that I do, okay, on the search engines and through social media. I was completely broke. I could not afford all these tools, and I still did everything I needed to do. The tools that I show you make your life easier. They make your job easier. They are not mandatory. They are not necessary. I used to do all of my research manually. But if you can afford the bells and whistles, if you can afford the tools, things like this tool here are just absolutely incredible. So watch this. I'm going to go over here, and I've got videos on this too, but I'm going to show you really quick. We're going to go down here to something called SEO content template. Before I create a piece of content now, I go into here and I type in things to do in Mother's Day. That's my keyword phrase I'm actually targeting. It's a long tail keyword, which means it has it has 4 or more words in a string to make it a long tail keyword. So these kind of more unique keyword phrases generate more, they're more niche focused. They generate more focused traffic, and they less competitive. They do better on the search engines for me. So things to do in Mother's Day, and I'm going to click Create SEO Template. Now what SEMrush is going to do now is it's going to go out and scour the web, and it's going to pull in the top 10 pages in my market that rank for Mother's Day. Okay. And then it's going to tell me, oh, shows. See, there you go. I need to add shows for Mother's Day. I don't have that in there. So they're saying the other 10 have the keyword show in it. So I might want to put shows. I want to make sure restaurants. How about flowers? Maybe I should add a little section in their best places to get flowers for Mother's Day on that same blog post. So those are things to look at. Then down here, the next thing I'm going to look at primarily is text length. The recommended text length is 1,030 words. Well, I have well exceeded that, but I definitely would not want to go under that. So if the top 10 are averaging 1,000 words, I want to make sure that I have 1,100 words or more. That's how I focus on. And by the way, you will find that most page 1 ranking keyword phrases are over 1,000. So keep that in mind. I seem to run into about the 1,000 to 1,100 mark a lot on these long tail phrases. And then it'll tell you where to put your keyword, how to optimize your meta description, where to use your H1, and I've got all those instructions, of course, also in the Ballen method. But those are really important. And I didn't cover that. Your H1, H2 tags are like this, where they make a heading tag. It makes it a larger font, and it's marked as a heading. And these can also indicate to Google that this is what the blog post is about. But use them sparingly. I use them more to break up the content as well. They are not as big of a ranking signal as they once were, but it's still a best practice. So all of mine, these are all H3s. So it's still a best practice. And that's how your table of contents works, by the way. It pulls all your heading tags and puts them in that table of contents. So if I did not make this La Cave Wine and Food Hideaway an H tag, it would not show up in that table of contents. So you'll have to keep that in mind. All right, well, that's how to do it. So get out there and create your Mother's Day blog post. And if you need help with this, you need help writing this, or you need a website, check us out, ballenbrands.com. Have fun.